heard this, but that's okay. We're going to deliver it anyway. It is the season of giving. And in that season, I really always like to focus, as I was talking about, something positive. And what really came to me the other week when I was working on planning something to talk about was some of the greatest gifts. And I heard a pastor say something that triggered in my head this idea that some of the greatest gifts that we have will never fit in a box or a bag or even really under the tree. So that's what I want to talk about today. I'm going to start with a little story about a guy that we'll call Brian. We're just going to call him that for now. So we'll protect some of the guilty here. And I had a meeting with this gentleman, because as everyone knows, I love to meet with people. I love to talk. I love to connect. So I'll take a meeting with people. Not really a meeting, but a coffee date with people. And I'm always looking for a way to connect, because I love connecting others, not just to people, but connecting others with people that really might be a great friend, or might just be a good lead, or might be just somebody that might be a good collaboration later. So I met with Brian, and I drove into the city, and I met him at this coffee place, because everybody who knows me knows the world doesn't start until coffee happens, for sure. So, and coffee's a great way to just have a very casual connection and conversation with people, and that's what I'm always looking for, is the conversation. But with Brian, that was, shall we say, incredibly difficult, because he was always focused on the business piece, or always focused on the next question, or always focused on what felt like the transaction. And so everything I tried to do to get to know the person, so I can know how to connect them, so I can know what's important to them, Brian just kept bringing it back around to that, and then he would sit there, and he would nervously fidget, and then there was this, and wait, hold on, it was, okay. And then the leg was going, and then we had this little, and there was never a way to really create this conversation. He was never really fully even present there. He was always had his brain somewhere else. Particularly, this I think was his favorite thing, and in fact, it might have been attached as an appendage to him, as if it popped out of the womb with that attached to him. And so finally, what felt like an eternity. Haven't you ever had those meetings where they're like 20 or 30 minutes, and I swear you would think that it was like an hour and a half, and some of it was like grilling me, and I'm thinking, this is really uncomfortable, and I'm usually pretty good at being able to kind of smooth things over and break it. No, he wasn't having any of that. So finally we get to and his foot's going, and they're doing this, and then constantly checking the watch and everything else, and he goes, okay, if we're not going to do business today, I've got to go, because I got to go make some money.
Okay.
And that was my reaction, was like, okay, and I'm thinking, wow. And what was interesting was this, I'm not even going to say what he did, but the interesting part was this. I actually was looking for somebody in that category. And I was always looking for that category to help connect other people, because people are always looking for this particular service. Well, let me just say that if Brian was the last person on earth that ever did this thing, I would figure out how to do it myself, because there's no way in hell. I'm not only not referring him, but I'm not going to ever use him either. I will figure it out how to do it on my own. And so that leads me to the greatest gifts, because I feel like he missed the whole point of it. And the point was this: the first one is being fully present. I think that's one of the greatest things we can give to somebody is, and what does that look like? It looks like your full attention. And whether that's just a minute in front of somebody where you're just meeting them, and you're just connecting eye to eye and heart to heart, because whether we believe it or not, it starts with that. And it starts with that fully being present. And I know that this is a reality today. And transactions are a reality today. And it's part of business. And that's okay. And there's nothing wrong with that. But when this takes the place of this, you know, Stephen Covey used to talk about connecting with people through the head, then the heart, and then the hands. But none of that can happen if we've got this in our hands, in our head, and ultimately dominating, so we drown out our heart. So it starts with being fully present, which leads to the next of the greatest gifts, which is connection. And that's really what we're talking about, because business cannot happen until connection happens. It just won't. And we know everybody wants to talk about the know, like, and trust. except how many of us know people who really just aren't practicing this? Because what happens is it starts with genuinely caring about people. And it may not be natural, because in human nature, it's our nature to think of ourselves. Aren't we all playing that tune, W-I-F-M? What if we flip that script and started thinking what's in it for them? And the way we do that is by getting curious. And it doesn't mean grilling them or asking the same old cliche questions that everybody asks. Get really curious, because then they're going to open up and tell you. It's amazing to me how many people I sit in front of and say, wow, I never really share a lot of this stuff with people. And I'm thinking, I think it's because people aren't interested. They're not curious. They don't ask questions. They don't really care about that. And again, it's not in our nature to naturally do that. Some of us think it is, but the reality is, human nature is self-preservation. But we can begin to flip that script and start by genuinely caring and getting curious, which I believe comes from the third of the greatest gifts, and really ultimately I believe the core of everything, which are our values. No matter what we say, no matter what face we put on, what outfit we put on, no matter how we present ourselves, our values will show through. They just will, because the values lead to our beliefs, which lead to our behaviors, which show our priorities. And if you really want to know where your priorities lie, just look where you spend your money and your time. Because we can say anything, and we love to say a lot of things that are important to us, but really, because if those were really important to us, isn't that where we spend our money and our time? Absolutely. Absolutely. What was interesting was this. It reminded me of a story. I thought about this driving down today. My husband and I used to love to watch this show called Big Bang Theory. And Raj, anybody who knows that there's a guy named Raj on there. I remember early on, I can't remember what year it was, when he got his new Apple phone and it had Siri on it. And he was so busy carrying on a relationship with Siri, like it was real, that he forgot about some of the other. And it's so interesting to me that how many times are we doing that? Because, like Brian, we're like this. And there's nothing wrong with that, except it needs to be controlled at the right time. And as I said before, if I don't put a timer, as Lori said, I could talk forever and we could connect forever, because it is one of my favorite things. So it's okay to have it. It's just knowing where to prioritize it and put it so that it doesn't become the focus. Or like Brian, oh, I gotta go. Okay, I gotta go make money. And boom, he was off. And then had the nerve to email me later asking for referrals, and I'm thinking, wow. Amazing. But I think that's because it's at the heart of that third piece, the value piece, that he just didn't have that in place. And so I'm going to leave you with a challenge, because there's not a lot of time between now and the end of the year, and everybody waits till January 1st to start thinking about what are we going to change. And as Randall, you were talking about, everybody's kind of off in their own mode right now. But I think that's an incredible time for this challenge, is to start thinking between now and the end of the year of just becoming aware of where do we do this. Because I have a feeling some of us in here, I will plead guilty, do this without even realizing it. And the first step of anything is awareness. And what a great gift, not only to give others, but to give to yourself. Because when you give out of that heart of generosity, you also will get back. You don't get to give, but it's just the natural course of things. So if you start to become aware, it won't just affect your business relationships. It's also going to affect your other relationships, maybe even your family through the holidays, which seems to be so stressful for some people that they don't like some of their family, even though they love them. But it can transform everything in your life, and it really will get you to that know, like, and trust, which I kind of hate because it's so cliche now. But the reality is, it all begins with that value of generosity and gratitude. And I'm going to leave you with that challenge.
Awesome.